London, 1888. A thick blanket of fog covered the streets, swallowing the light from gas lamps and turning every alley into a shadowy maze. The air smelled of coal smoke, damp stone, and the crowded life of the city. In Whitechapel, where the poorest lived, danger often hid in sight. Eliza Hart was only 12 years old. She had soft brown hair, tired eyes, and a quiet smile that people remembered. Every morning, she helped her mother arrange small bundles of flowers, mostly white roses and wild daisies, before heading out to sell them near the busy market streets. It wasn't much, but it kept them alive. That evening felt no different. As the sun disappeared behind the smoky skyline, Eliza wrapped her thin shawl tightly around her shoulders. She had one last delivery to make, flowers for a regular customer who lived a few streets away. Her mother hesitated, glancing at the growing darkness. "Be quick," she said softly. Eliza nodded and stepped into the fog. She walked past crowded corners, past laughing men and shouting vendors, until the noise slowly faded behind her. The streets grew quieter, stranger. Somewhere along the way, something changed. A witness later claimed they saw her pause under a flickering lamp, speaking to someone, a tall figure, well-dressed, out of place. But no one saw what happened next. Eliza never came home. At first, her mother waited by the door, expecting her at any moment. Then worry turned into fear. Neighbors joined the search, calling her name through the dark streets. But there was no answer. 3 days later, a bundle of white roses was found placed neatly on a stranger's doorstep, far from Whitechapel. The same flowers Eliza carried. She was gone. And London had just begun to reveal its darkness. Eliza Hart's disappearance did not remain a single tragedy for long. As word spread through Whitechapel, whispers began to rise, quiet at first, then impossible to ignore. Other girls had vanished, not just one or two, but several, all within the past year. Each case followed the same pattern. A young girl from a poor family, last seen alone, disappearing into the crowded streets and never returning. The police treated each case separately, blaming the chaos of London. Some said the girls had run away. Others believed they had fallen victim to random crime. But the people of Whitechapel knew something wasn't right. Mothers began keeping their daughters close, refusing to let them walk alone even during the day. Street vendors exchanged uneasy glances, lowering their voices whenever the topic came up. There was a shared fear, unspoken but deeply felt. Someone was watching. One evening, a local street vendor came forward with a chilling detail. He claimed that on the night Eliza disappeared, he saw her speaking to a man. Not just any man. He looked like a gentleman, clean coat, polished shoes, like he belonged somewhere better than this, the vendor said. That detail disturbed investigators. Men like that didn't visit Whitechapel without reason. When questioned further, the vendor struggled to describe his face. It was as if the memory refused to settle, blurry, distant, almost unreal. Still, the police searched. They questioned wealthy visitors, checked nearby neighborhoods, and followed every small lead. But nothing came of it. No name, no address, no clear identity. It was as though the man existed only in the moment he was seen, and then vanished into the fog. And with every passing day, one truth became harder to ignore. This was no accident. Someone in London was choosing these girls, carefully, quietly, and no one knew who would be next. Weeks passed with no real progress. The fog still hung over London, and with it came a heavy silence. People had stopped hoping for quick answers. Instead, fear settled into daily life. Then, something unexpected changed everything. A young chimney sweep named Thomas Briggs came forward with a strange story. He was small for his age, covered in soot, and often ignored by most people. But what he had seen could not be dismissed. Thomas had been sent to clean the chimneys of an old, nearly abandoned house on the edge of the city. The building was large but lifeless, its windows dark, and its halls filled with dust. As he moved through the narrow spaces, he noticed something unusual. A section of the wall didn't feel right. Curious, he pushed against it, and to his surprise, it shifted slightly. Hidden behind it was a narrow wooden door, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. Shaken, Thomas ran and reported it. When the police arrived, they forced the door open. Inside was a small, airless room. What they found there was deeply disturbing. The floor was covered with children's belongings, tiny shoes, worn ribbons, broken toys. Everything looked carefully placed, not scattered, as if someone had arranged them with purpose. And then there were the flowers, dried, fragile, and pale with age, but still recognizable. White roses. Among the items, officers found a small basket, Eliza's basket. The room held no bodies, no clear sign of struggle, just silence and traces of the missing girls' lives. But the most chilling discovery was on the walls. Dozens of drawings made with charcoal. Each one showed a young girl standing still, beside a tall, dark figure. The same figure appeared every time, featureless, looming, and watching. It wasn't just a hiding place. It was a message. Someone had been here, watching, collecting, and they were far more careful and far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The discovery of the hidden room sent shockwaves through London. What was once rumor had now become something far more real and far more terrifying. The police finally had something to follow. The abandoned house was not truly abandoned. Records revealed it belonged to a man named Edward Blackwood, a wealthy businessman with strong ties to the city. He was known in high society for his polite manners, fine clothing, and generous donations to charities, especially those that supported poor children. To many, he was a respected figure, but now he was the prime suspect. When officers arrived at his main residence to question him, they were met with an unsettling scene. The house was empty. No servants, no sign of struggle. Everything was in perfect order, furniture untouched, clothes neatly arranged, as if the owner had simply stepped out for a walk. But Edward Blackwood was nowhere to be found. It was as though he had vanished the moment the truth began to surface. Inside his private study, investigators uncovered something even more disturbing: a locked drawer hidden beneath his desk. When forced open, it revealed a collection of journals, pages filled with neat, careful handwriting. At first, the entries seemed harmless, even thoughtful. He wrote about society, morality, and the suffering of the poor. But as they read further, his words grew darker. He spoke of the streets as unclean and children as forgotten souls. He believed the world around them was corrupt and that he alone could protect innocence from being destroyed. "I take them away from decay. I preserve what the world would ruin," one entry read. The final pages were the most chilling. His writing became rushed, almost frantic. "They are safe now, hidden where no one will ever find them, pure, untouched, forever." There was no mention of regret, no sign of guilt, only belief. Edward Blackwood did not see himself as a criminal. He believed he was a savior. And now he was gone. For months after Edward Blackwood's disappearance, the investigation slowly lost direction. Leads dried up. Witnesses contradicted each other. The city moved on, as it always did, burying fear under routine and silence. But Whitechapel did not forget. The mothers still locked their doors early. Children were still called home before dark. And in the foggy streets, people still felt like they were being watched. Then came the discovery that changed everything again. During construction work near an old drainage system beneath London, workers struck something unusual: a hollow space hidden far below the city's surface. The tunnel walls were sealed with old brickwork that did not match the surrounding structure. Authorities were called immediately. When they broke through the sealed entrance, a cold rush of air escaped, as if the space had been untouched for years. Inside was darkness and silence. As lanterns were carried deeper, the truth slowly revealed itself. The tunnel led to a large underground chamber, and within it were the missing girls. Carefully arranged, not thrown or hidden in panic, but placed with disturbing precision. Each child was surrounded by dried flowers, as if someone had tried to preserve their presence in a twisted act of care. There were no signs of struggle in the chamber itself, only stillness. Among them was Eliza Hart. Her small flower basket lay beside her, exactly as she had carried it on the night she vanished. The realization shattered the investigators. This was not random violence. It was methodical, deliberate, controlled. A pattern of obsession rather than chaos. But Edward Blackwood was never found among them. No trace of him existed in the chamber. No evidence of escape was ever confirmed either. He had simply disappeared, like a shadow slipping between cracks in the fog. The case was officially closed, but the fear remained unresolved. And even today, in the quietest corners of London, some claim they still hear footsteps in the fog, slow, careful, and patient, as if someone is still searching, still preserving, still waiting for another lost girl.
If this story stayed with you, then you've only just stepped into the shadows. Because stories like this don't end, they linger, in silence, in memory, and sometimes in the dark corners we try not to see. So if you want more chilling true crime stories that uncover the secrets history tried to bury, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us. Because the next story might be even darker.